When we talk about camera angles, we mean the level and height of the camera in relation to the subject being photographed. Most shots in most movies conform to the way we normally see the world, which is eye level, either a sort of average eye height or on a level with the subject's eyes. But, as with most elements of cinematic language, by diverging from this normal view, filmmakers can convey information, meaning, mood, or state of mind. And the conventional effect of camera angles, like most cinematic language, references our real-life intuitive reactions to visual information. In other words, the viewer identifies with the lens. A low angle is what you get when the camera is lowered to shoot up at the subject. If you're looking up at someone who is either bigger than you or standing over you in a position of power, how are you likely to perceive them? As powerful, right? Maybe even threatening. So when the camera looks up at a subject and you're seeing and intuitively identifying with that camera's point of view, the subject often appears threatening or powerful. But not always. A low angle is also a view we associate with looking up at a statue of someone impressive or an important person on a stage. So if presented in the proper context, a subject can be made to appear not threatening but superior or noble, or more heroic when seen from a low angle. This effect is reflected in an expression used to describe people we admire. I look up to her. Or sometimes the disorienting effect of an extreme low angle can be used to convey a character in a moment of weakness or confusion. The exact opposite of the angle's conventional interpretation. It all depends on the context, our understanding of the subject and situation going into the shot. For example, there's a famous scene in Stanley Kubrick's The Shining in which a character, Wendy, discovers that her husband, Jack, is insane, which is a drag considering that she and her little boy are trapped with him in an isolated, snowbound, haunted hotel. Not exactly a powerful or threatening subject is Wendy. And yet Kubrick chooses to shoot her most vulnerable moments from a low angle. Why? It all boils down to context. By shooting Wendy's moment of realization from a low angle, Kubrick places the evidence of Jack's insanity, his typewriter and his disturbing manuscript, in the foreground, making them large and significant, especially in relation to poor Wendy's terrified little head in the middle ground. But more importantly, the low angle increases tension by denying us the chance to see what's behind Wendy, just at the moment we're expecting psychotic Jack to slink up behind her. This shot from Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, also shows a very vulnerable subject from a low angle. But unlike The Shining, in this context, the low angle increases suspense by allowing us to see what Frodo does not. The high-angle camera looks down on its subject from the same position of power that the subject occupies in the low angle. So the meaning is reversed. Now we're identifying with the camera's point of view, looking down on a subject who appears smaller and thus weak or vulnerable. Whether it's a guy who really has to take a leak, or a guy who's just been dumped by a princess, or a woman succumbing to the effects of poisoned coffee, or the wife of a heartless control freak, or a kid placed in the care of a heartless capitalist, or a kid placed in the care of a serial killer, or a hobbit placed in the care of a heartless magical ring, or a different hobbit stalked by a heartless giant spider. Weak or vulnerable, that's the conventional meaning of the high-angle subject. But just as with all things cinematic, there are exceptions. This shot shows two not very vulnerable, not weak spies at the moment spy number one announces his plans to toss an extremely vulnerable double agent from an airplane. In this example, the high angle's meaning has nothing to do with the on-screen subjects. Instead, it visually references the potential fate of their victim. An extreme high angle, also known as a bird's eye view, positions the camera directly above the subjects, creating a disorienting viewpoint handy for shocking audiences or presenting an unnatural or strange situation, such as being murdered by a cross-dresser or the aftermath of a vigilante rampage. When it comes to conveying unnatural situations and disoriented states of mind, the camera angle of choice is the Dutch angle or oblique angle, same thing. This angle intuitively conveys that something strange is going on by slanting the camera's level to change our usual horizontal and vertical viewpoint into something more diagonal. The audience's point of view now feels off balance, which is just how the filmmaker wants you to feel as you experience an evil genius and his mad scientist partner reanimating a corpse, or a drugged protagonist attempting to escape an asylum, or a city where the normal rules of law and ethics do not apply. And those are your camera angles: high level, low angle, high angle, bird's eye view or extreme high angle, and Dutch angle.